Old Flame Productions.
It doesn't have to be a fire for the fire department to get called.
Well, I think any young fella should be a firefighter. It's when they've seen some of the messes I've seen, you want to be thankful that there's people out there that's going to come and help you. I'll put it that way.
Do you think firefighters make a positive difference in the community?
Definitely.
We were at an accident, and there was a little fellow there about his age, laying on the pavement. And I looked down at him and I didn't see anybody but my son. And I said, this is it, I quit.
What does firefighting mean to you?
I guess looking after the community. I think that's the biggest thing, you know, and we're like, I'm not a first responder, but there's always that medical call you go to, truck has to get there, so someone has to drive it, so, and I don't mind getting behind the wheel, and sometimes you have to help out, and sometimes you stand back, let the first responders do their job, so.
Firefighter to me is trying to do something good, receiving very little thanks for it, to save lives, to save a lot of people from being hurt and like damage and stuff like that. I do it mainly for, I think it feels good to do something for people and knowing that they feel good about it too.
Well, it means mostly helping out your neighbor. That's about the main thing that I can think of. I always felt that they were in trouble and they needed all the help they could get, so I was only too glad to try to help them.
What are some of your responsibilities?
Anywhere from working with the people that at the scene, like the people that own the places or whatever, trying to keep them calm, to organizing everybody to do their job. Safety. When I was there, we never had no safety officer, so it was everything involved to it. So, yeah, it was everything.
I was a ladder man, and if there was a flue fire or someplace there was a fire on the second floor, it was my job to go there first with a hose and see what I could do. Of course, there would be backup if I need help, but it was normally my job to pick the roof or wherever the fire was to try to knock it down first.
We do a lot of chimney cleaning in the spring when chimneys get cleaned up, blocked up. And we do a lot of medical calls and MVAs, and because we do have part of the 103 in our area, so we do quite a few of MVAs.
Is the job difficult?
It has to be, it's a job that you have to have training to do. It's not a job anymore of just going, taking a water hose and spreading it on the ground or going in a building. Now, back then when we first started, if you seen smoke coming underneath the eaves, you didn't pay no attention to it. You went in the house, you put the fire out, or you went on the roof, chopped the hole, vented it. Now you look at it and say, is it safe to go up there? And if it's not safe, it's not an interior fire anymore, it's an outside attack. And place more or less just, you fight it until you got it out, but you usually don't go inside. If it's just smoke you're worried about, some of the guys with the BAs will go in if they know that there's somebody in there. They don't usually go in and try to endanger their lives, because you can go in, like a building like that there, the fire's on the 3rd floor and you go in and you go up, you better know how to get back out in a hurry. Because once the alarm goes off on them BAs, you only got probably a minute, 2 minutes air left to get out.
Sometimes it's a little risky, but you don't think about that at the time. You're there to do a job and you do the best you can. Both time consuming and physical. If you are on the hose or ladder, or in the summertime when we had bushfires or grass fires, it was a lot of physical work dragging hose. And then of course you had to be careful not to get in the position where they were going to be close to the fire. You had to make sure that you didn't get your hose burned, and you had a chance to get it yourself.
Well, there's a lot of times that you have to think for yourself. No matter how much training you have, there's no two fires alike. Every situation is different, and know where to go and where not to go is the biggest problem. Because you can open the door and walk in, there may not be a floor there, so you gotta feel your way around before you do go in. But I'd recommend it to anybody, though.
Well, in plain words, it takes a lot of guts. You're going to have a lot of good times, and you're going to have a lot of bad times. But it's still the best bunch of guys to belong to. Oh, today it's progress so now that if I was to go back into the fire department now as a regular firefighter, I'd never make it. I haven't got that little piece of paper that says I can do this and I can do that.
Yes.
But yet I was a captain for 17 years.
I used to be the chief at that time. And I think at our meetings, we used to bring it up all the time that there was always grass fires in the spring, always, and we were always called out. So we used to preach to them that maybe we shouldn't do this no more. Like, if people want to burn grass, just say we can't do it because of insurance and liability and stuff. But anyway, back to me. I have a big field in back of my house, and the grass grew up really tall. There was snow on the ground all around the borders of it. And one afternoon I went up and I thought, well, I'll burn that off. Just doing the opposite of what I said. And I lit it up. There wasn't a breath of wind that afternoon until I lit that match. And the fire just took off. I had a flat shovel that I carried with me, I was going to make it out. And I don't think I was there 2 minutes. And the wind came up, it took it in every direction you could talk about. And it got away from me. And I pounded with the shovel, and I pounded with the shovel. And I realized, this is not going to work for me, I'm not going to get it out. So then I started yelling for help, and nobody responded. So I started yelling my son's name. He was about 12 to 14 at the time, and he was outdoors down by the house, which was a quarter of a mile away. And eventually he did show up, and I says, "Get the fire department, will you? Get the fire department." And he come up to me and he said, "Dad, you are the fire department." So I left and went to the fire hall, got the truck and come back. By that time some of the neighbors had gathered up. But that fire traveled that it scared me. I could have burned 3 houses down. That's how quick it started. It was 3 houses in a row, just off of my field. It burned to the edge of the field, and it burned over to the next field. And the one house had a big water hose out back, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna be safe here. At least I'll get the houses. I grabbed the bloody hose, turned on, no water. They had it turned off inside the house. Nobody home. Not a fun feeling. But the fire got out, and I got that lecture at the fire hall probably for years to come.
Do you think you've changed your community in a positive way?
Definitely.
And why do you think that?
Because any fire that has started there, I was right there to put it out before any too much damage comes.
Now the community looks up to the fire department like to be there when you call them, I might say, which is sometimes very hard because sometimes it takes 10 minutes to get wherever you got to go to get there.
I feel better when I walk on. I've seen people out there that I've helped save their places.
So, like, saving, like, their houses?
Lives and property.
Yes. How has your community honored you?
I've had different plaques presented to me at normally into the annual banquet every year. The last Saturday of April is banquet night. All the firemen sit down together and their wives, and if there's anything to be presented, it's done at that time. So I have gotten different plaques and wall hangings for my effort. I was presented with a wall hanging from the municipality, and I have a provincial fireman's medal and a federal fireman's medal. And the federal fireman's medal was presented for 20 years service, and then every 10 years after that, you get a bar for that medal. So I got my medal and 4 bars.
Yeah, I have a bunch of wall plaques on the clocks, and I could probably do a wallpaper one room with, achievement certificates. But they're on a file. Yeah, my chief nominated me for municipal volunteer thing, which was back in July. I got another plaque.
So, that plaque was for
years of volunteering.
Oh, okay, yes.
Not only the fire department, but it was from the municipality.
Have you ever felt like quitting?
Yes, good many times. Could overcome the smoke, fell off a roof, went through a floor. And the worst one was, when I did quit, was we were at an accident. And there was a little fellow there about his age, laying on the pavement. And I looked down at him and I didn't see anybody but my son. And I said, this is it, I quit. That's when I packed it up.
Yes, when I got my 60-year bar for my medal, and then I thought I was having a hard time getting around hauling hose and so on, so I thought rather than be an asset, I was a hindrance. So I decided it would be a good time to quit. House burned, and a mother and a couple of kids burned, and after it got cold enough, I was in the ashes looking for the bones and so on.
Did you ever feel like quitting at a time like that? Like,
No. All I was thinking about was the rest of the family, getting the remains of their immediate family.
Occasionally, yeah. We've had some ups and downs. Like some of the chiefs would quit, and I usually ended up being the chief for in between chiefs. Probably 4 different times I've held a position as chief. But no, in most cases, I'd say I was happy.
Why did you join your department?
Well, it goes back in the early 60s. Then we used to have straight 45s. Now they play auction. But I used to volunteer, you know, I used to run these card parties for a couple of years, and I got to thinking, well, if I'm working for the fire department, why don't I see if I can join? So, lo and behold, here I am, after 51 years.
I don't, just the thrill of it, I guess. I don't know.
Just, you like the rush of it?
Just the rush of it. Well, I think any young fella should be a firefighter. It's when they've seen some of the messes I've seen, you want to be thankful that there's people out there that's going to come and help you. I'll put it that way.
Well, at that time there was very few men that was available at the time, because it was the first time I turned out. It would have been in the daytime, and whoever was available was at work. There's a few older gentlemen that was looking after the department at that time, and I was building myself a little shop, and the siren blew, and I rushed down to see what was going on and how bad it was, and they stopped and told me to crawl aboard, and that was about my initiation.
You just became part of the fire department because they said get on the truck.
Exactly right. Well, I was quite young, and the other people were elderly, so I thought if I could help out any way, I would only too glad to do that.
What are some of your proudest moments?
My proudest moment, I guess, serving 50 years. That's my proudest moment, and I was acknowledged, you know, last year at a banquet, being, you know, that I was in 50 years. I thought, you know, gee, how many more years do I have to go till I get 50? And now it's gone by, and I'm working on 51. So,
Probably when I got this. It's a Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal.
Okay, so what is that?
For volunteering. It's one is 20 years, 25, and there's 2 bars for 40 years.
Probably the proudest moments would be when you go to the scene of a fire or an accident and nobody gets hurt, and somebody will come pat you on the shoulder and say, you did a good job. Now, it's no rewards, it just makes you feel good. That's a feeling you get. It's hard to explain, but it's a real good feeling.
I pulled a little fella out of a building one morning. I was pretty proud when I got him out, because I couldn't find him. He was under the bed, but I got him.
No, I think probably the weirdest one we had was to get a horse up. Get caught under the fence, and we had to get a tow truck with a sling, get around the horse and pick it up, get it on his feet after we cut the wire fence out. And after about 20 minutes, he could stand on his own. So, but that was, you know, not a usual call. It doesn't have to be a fire for the fire department to get called. Yes. Some guy's boat goes adrift or boat starting to sink, we'll get a call.
What about family?
Yes. Back in our day, it was the biggest family going. And it still is. Anywhere in the world you go. I took a trip down to Florida one year, and I got lost on the way going down, so I hauled into a fire station, showed them a card to them, and they treated me like a king. One of the brothers. It's just one big family. It's all it is. You're looking after each other's back.
Camaraderie, yeah, very much so. And it's nice to communicate and be with the boys.
Is there anyone else in your family who's been in the service?
I have a son that's in there. I have a grandson. I have a son-in-law and a granddaughter. Grandson and granddaughter are juniors. Their husbands and wives are in the fire auxiliary, so.
Okay.
we done a little total together. We had around 250 years of volunteering.
My husband was a firefighter, and Mark, my youngest son, was in the fire department, and my daughters are in the auxiliary. The two of them that are home.
We were called out to a chimney fire. It was in the winter, and when we responded, the guy that we responded to, he wasn't a fireman at that time, but he is now. Pulled into his driveway, and I met him at the driveway. He said, "You know," I said to him, "How's the fire?" "I got it out," he said. "I got it out." I said, "Thank God for that." I said, "The pumps froze up solid in the truck." We couldn't have got no water.
Were you at the Lunenburg church fire?
Like I said, I wasn't involved, you know, physically, but more standing back and watching that beautiful church burn. It was just, it was, you know, it's kind of emotional, you know, to see it, think what happened, you know. Guess we never did find out what the real reason was. So, you know, then take some of the artifacts out after it was everything, you know, down. And I know we were inside, and the first thing, crash, down comes part of the ceiling. So we were told to get out of there right quick.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it's too dangerous to be in there.
It was pretty hectic. It was, well, traffic was one of the biggest problems is trying to get around because so many sightseers, but to get water and get to a hydrant and get water to get on it, we were just feeding their truck. So that's usually what you do. You set up one truck or two trucks, whatever, and somebody else just feed them, keep the water supply coming. But it's a long night. We were there for, I don't know what time, probably I think the early part of the night, and we were there till morning.
What's it like being in a burning building?
Scary. But scariest one we ever had, we had a call that was two children in the house. And we got there, it was three of us, so we didn't have the rescue van with the breathing apparatus, so just put a fog nozzle on and went in and searched the house and get back out. Not the proper thing to do, but when there's somebody in there, you do what you have to do. But thank God they weren't there.
Yes.
When we got the call, they said that the children were still in the house. Because normally we don't go with two or three guys. We'd like to have at least five to go. We had one guy on the truck, one guy behind me with the hose, and back out.
I remember when I was taking VA training in Waverly at the school, we had to go into a ship. They had lit up like it was just a bloody blaze. Sent us in first with no hose, just the BAs on to walk through. It was called a walk through. That wasn't bad. Then we had to go through. They lit her up really good then, that the steel turned cherry red, and put it out. I remember the guy that was ahead of me, he was from, I'm not sure if it was Windsor Fire Department or the Halifax Fire Department. He was just a trainee. He was put on the tack hose with me. He was on the front. He opened the door to go in, dropped the hose, and ran the other way. I had 3 feet of hose going like this in front of me, and I had to try to get a hold of the bloody nozzle. And then he said, "You've got to have to go and put it out." I felt like shit then.
What's firefighting like compared to other jobs?
I would say being a firefighter, you should, or you know beforehand that you're taking on quite a bit of responsibility. Other jobs, yeah, you know you're being paid to do, and you have to do what you're told. You still have to do what you're told in the fire department, but still, I think people that do it that they, for the fact that they want to help. They want to make things better. And there's not that much of that around anymore. It's a lot of organizations going around and stuff like that, but to actually be a firefighter, to be called out any time of the day or night, and I mean any time, it could be 3 o'clock when you just got in bed at 1 o'clock and you're back out, and you don't get back in bed until that next night. So, yeah, it's a lot.
It's interesting. Pay is poor, but it's rewarding when you can help somebody and save a house or somebody from the house or an accident, car accident, sort of thing. We get more medical and car accidents than we do fires.
Could you tell me a little bit about the Women's Auxiliary?
The Ladies Auxiliary is to help the fire department to raise money for the fire department and support them, yeah. The firemen. Yeah. Well, this is the way we support our fire department, and we raise money for them to get their equipment, you know, new hoses, yes, we've bought a new truck and helped them buy a new truck, in the last couple of years. We're having a strawberry supper Saturday night, and the money goes to the fire department. And but no, whatever we sell quilts on tickets, and raise money that way. We also have teas and bake sales, and that's the way and we have a dessert party called Blueberry Mania to raise money, and everything's made with blueberries. And of course we have our annual strawberry supper, which is really a good way to raise money.
Do you have any other stories you'd like to share?
Well, it was in the morning, and my father and grandfather was down over the field across the road and across the brook in the woods, and it was my sister and I. She was 15 months older than I am, and the flue caught a fire, and Mom took us out and put us in the horse wagon where we would be safe, and then she screamed and yelled for Daddy to come home, that the house was on fire, and they heard her and came out and seen that it was a fire, and they had a pair of horses with a load of logs on the wagon, and they came up over the field straight up to the house, and the horses took the load of logs around to the log brow and stood there while the house burned down. And they got the organ out, the cream separator, and Mom's winter coat and her purse, and that was all they saved from the house. Everything burned right to the ground.
One time a group of us was into an old hen house, and there was a fire. We didn't see any flames, but it was full of smoke, and everything was clouded in with smoke, and we decided it was time to leave, and we couldn't find our way out. So it was a few anxious times at that time. It wasn't exactly a fact that we were in any danger. It was just the fact that everything was so full of smoke you couldn't get out, and we didn't know just where the fire was going to hit.
There's one piece in there that was a little bit comical. It's written in the book. At the time the steel and engine burned in Liverpool, we sent our 2 pumpers ahead of us. And another fellow by the name of Captain Pidge Milne and myself, we took 2 cars so we could take our crews with us. And when we got to the middle of the village, Pidgey blew her tire. So what we did was we grabbed a hold of the car, picked it up, the guy changed the tire, and we dropped it back down again and took off. Don't you call that a family?